Comedy can be tricky to pull off in wrestling, but in recent years, one performer has cracked the code, delivering some truly hilarious moments, and in the process, turning herself into a cult sensation. But WWE's resident Karen is far more than just her comedic antics. She's also a well-rounded and seasoned performer in the wrestling world. So, how did she get here? Join us today as we take a deep dive into her journey in Hot Mess, the Chelsea Green story. Chelsea Ann Green was born on April 4, 1991, in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. It was there that she developed a passion for wrestling, idolizing WWE star Kelly Kelly during her teen years. Inspired by the former Divas champion, Chelsea set her sights on a career in the ring. After finishing school, she began training as a wrestler, eventually making her way onto the Canadian indie circuit under the ring name Jade. Chelsea's in-ring debut came in 2014, and she quickly started making a name for herself. She competed in Elite Canadian Championship Wrestling and impressed enough to land a cameo role on WWE Raw later that year. On the August 11, 2014 episode, she played Megan Miller, a physical therapist who claimed to be having an affair with Daniel Bryan as part of a storyline orchestrated by the Authority. Though a short-lived role, it put her on WWE's radar. Her next big break came in 2015 when she was selected as a contestant on Season 6 of Tough Enough. She made it to the Final Four of the women's competition, but ultimately didn't land a WWE contract. Undeterred, she returned to the indie scene, and in 2016, she caught the attention of Rossy Ogawa, the founder of World Wonder Ring Stardom, the top women's wrestling promotion in Japan. She was invited to tour with Stardom, but her momentum was briefly halted when she suffered a broken collarbone during a match. After recovering, she returned to Stardom, gaining valuable experience against some of the best female wrestlers in the world. By 2017, Chelsea had leveled up. She made her way back to the US to wrestle for Queen of Combat and quickly found success, winning the QOC Tag Team Championship alongside Taylor Hendricks. At the same time, she landed a spot in Impact Wrestling, formerly TNA, where she debuted under the ring name Laurel Van Ness. In Impact Wrestling, Chelsea introduced one of her most iconic characters, the Hot Mess. After being left at the altar by her kayfabe fiancé Braxton Sutter, Laurel Van Ness spiraled into madness. With smeared makeup, a tattered wedding dress, and a wild, unpredictable demeanor, she became a standout performer in the Knockouts division. Her comedic yet unhinged character was an instant hit, and she quickly rose up the ranks, proving she was more than just a gimmick. She could wrestle. Why was she now always seen in a tattered wedding dress, with messy, disheveled hair and smudged makeup, often clutching a half-empty wine bottle? It was easy to see why fans embraced this gimmick. It was wild, over the top, and endlessly entertaining. More importantly, it gave Chelsea significant screen time that she might not have otherwise received. That extra exposure led her to matches against notable opponents like Madison Rayne, Ally, and Rosemary. Meanwhile, her kayfabe single status became a storyline in itself, drawing interest from suitors such as Scottish wrestler Grotto. In reality, however, Chelsea Green wasn't single at all. By this time, she had started dating Matt Cardona, a relationship that would later lead to marriage. Before that happened, though, her character, Laurel Van Ness, would experience a major shift. On the August 24, 2017 episode of Impact, she shocked fans by appearing cleaned up for the first time in months, stepping into the ring with a purpose. She was ready to accept Grotto's advances. In fact, she wasn't just interested in dating him, she wanted to marry him. However, the moment took a comedic turn when Grotto initially accepted her proposal, only to abruptly change his mind after realizing that, as a Canadian, she couldn't secure him an American green card. Heartbroken, Laurel snapped, reverting to her hot mess persona that fans had grown to love. Despite the audience's fondness for her antics, Laurel was technically the heel in this scenario. So when she later cost Grotto a victory during a Monsters Ball match at Bound for Glory in November, it was framed as a villainous act. Still, her momentum continued as she entered a tournament for the vacant Knockouts Championship, where she was consistently pitted against babyfaces. But that didn't slow her down. By the tournament's end, she defeated Rosemary in the finals, securing the Knockouts title and marking the first singles championship of her career. As champion, she defended her title against challengers like Kiera Hogan. However, despite her in-ring success, the timing proved problematic for Green. Before winning the championship, she had been planning to request her release from TNA, believing WWE was interested in signing her. But now that she was holding gold, TNA executives were reluctant to let her go. This delayed her WWE debut until she eventually dropped the title to Allie on January 15, 2018. Even then, her WWE journey wouldn't begin immediately. Instead, she continued to build her reputation elsewhere, appearing in Lucha Underground Season 4 under the name Reclusa and competing at All In that September in a four-way match against Britt Baker, Madison Rayne, and Tessa Blanchard. Finally, in October, after an official tryout in August, she was signed to WWE and sent to the Performance Center. Chelsea adapted quickly to WWE's style, and by the end of the month, she was wrestling at NXT live events under her real name, though she maintained the Hot Mess character. Unfortunately, her anticipated breakthrough was derailed when she broke her wrist during her first televised match in March 2019, sidelining her for 3 months. By the time she returned in June, much of her momentum had faded, leading to an uneventful remainder of the year. Her only notable appearance in 2019 was a cameo on Raw, where she lost to Charlotte Flair. Still, she remained hopeful that 2020 would be the year her WWE career truly took off. She entered the Women's Royal Rumble on January 26th and later secured a spot in a ladder match for the #1 contendership for the NXT Women's Championship. However, WWE's creative plans for her soon fell apart amid mass layoffs and restructuring. One of the scrapped ideas had been for her to move to Raw, but instead, she was left waiting. It wasn't until November that she finally got another opportunity, this time on SmackDown. However, fate intervened once more. During a fatal four-way match against Liv Morgan, Natalya, and Tamina on November 13th, Chelsea broke her wrist again. The planned finish, which had her winning, had to be changed on the fly, and she ultimately lost to Morgan. This setback led to her being released from WWE on April 15, 2021, after months of inactivity. Her Impact return saw her teaming with her fiancé, Matt Cardona, in an intergender tag match against Brian Myers and Tenille Dashwood, which they won. She then entered a tournament to crown the inaugural Digital Media Champion, reaching the finals before losing to Jordynne Grace. Even without a title, Chelsea's career was on an upward trajectory. On New Year's Eve 2021, she and Matt Cardona tied the knot in a Las Vegas ceremony. With her personal and professional life aligned, she set her sights on making 2022 her breakout year. She kicked off the year by competing in the Knockouts Ultimate X match at Hard to Kill on January 8th. Though she didn't win, her performance reminded fans why she was one of the division's top stars. She soon reinvented herself again, turning heel on March 24th alongside her husband by attacking Mickie James. This led to a new alliance with her real-life best friend, Deonna Purrazzo, forming the tag team VXT. The duo quickly established themselves, winning their debut match against Jordynne Grace and Mia Yim on the July 21st episode of Impact. They then continued their dominance by defeating Rosemary to claim the Knockouts Tag Team Championships, proving that Chelsea Green was far from finished in the wrestling world. Taya Valkyrie and Chelsea Green became the Knockouts World Tag Team Champions, though their reign was short-lived as they lost the titles to the Death Dolls just a month later. This quick turnover wasn't due to their performance, but rather because Chelsea was preparing for a new journey, another stint with WWE. Despite her previous run in WWE not going as planned, by 2023, she was brought back into the fold. After doing the honors for Mickie James on the November 11, 2022 episode of Impact, Green bid farewell to the promotion and prepared for her WWE return. Her comeback was an immediate splash. On January 28, 2023, she entered the Women's Royal Rumble match. While she was eliminated within just 5 seconds by Rhea Ripley, it wasn't a burial, it was an introduction to her new character, WWE's resident Karen. No longer the hot mess, Chelsea Green now thrived as the woman who always demanded to speak to the manager. Green's reign wasn't about dominance, it was about entertainment. She breathed new life into the tag titles, using her comedic timing and character work to keep fans engaged. However, when Sonya Deville suffered a legitimate ACL tear early into their reign, Green was left without a partner. She lobbied Raw General Manager Adam Pearce to let her keep both belts herself in true Karen fashion, but when that was denied, she needed a new partner. That's when Piper Niven entered the picture. While their alliance initially seemed like an odd pairing, it worked exceptionally well on TV. Green wasn't just excelling in the tag team division, though. By the fall of 2023, WWE fully recognized her talent. She was positioned as a comedic counterpart to Santino Marella, gaining more singles opportunities. One standout moment came on the October 30th episode of Raw, when she faced Natalya in a trick or street fight, dressed as Canadian wrestling legend Bret Hitman Hart. Though she typically lost her singles matches, she remained over with the audience, all while holding the tag team titles alongside Piper Niven. Unfortunately, her reign came to an end on December 18, 2023, when she and Niven lost the belts to Caden Carter and Katana Chance after 126 days as champions. As 2024 began, Green demanded a rematch on the January 8th episode of Raw, but she and Niven failed to regain the titles. Realizing she needed to pivot, she set her sights on the 2024 Women's Royal Rumble. She aimed to prove herself, and while she lasted a much improved 17 minutes compared to her 5-second elimination in 2023, Becky Lynch ultimately tossed her over the top rope, ending her hopes of main eventing WrestleMania. However, the main roster wasn't the only place with championship gold. There was also NXT. During the draft window, Green made a quick stop in NXT, where she challenged then Women's Champion Roxanne Perez. Unfortunately, on the May 7th episode of NXT, Perez proved to be too much for her, and Green walked away empty-handed. Back on the main roster, Green entered the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match at the Money in the Bank Premium Live event on July 6. While she didn't win, the reaction she received in her home country of Canada showed just how much of a cult following she had built through her entertaining performances. By late 2024, WWE recognized her growing popularity. In November, the company announced the introduction of Women's Mid-Card Championships, the Women's Intercontinental Championship for Raw, and the Women's United States Championship for SmackDown. Since Green was back on the blue brand by this time, her next goal became clear: become the inaugural Women's United States Champion. Now, with a championship around her waist once more, Green heads into 2025 as one of WWE's most entertaining and valuable performers. Will she go on a lengthy reign and establish the Women's US title as prestigious, or will she quickly transition into the world title picture? No matter what happens next, one thing is certain: Chelsea Green has cemented herself as one of the most compelling women's wrestlers of her generation.